What is up, good people? Jungle Inc. here. Hope you're doing well. A lot of people have been complaining. I'm FUD XRP. I'm too bearish. I'm Mr. Negative. Well, maybe you'll like this video a little better, because to be honest, this post by Mr. Huber today probably has me more excited about the use of XRP for institutional payments than I've ever been. This is a big one. So what did he post? Well, it was an exhibit from the lawsuit, SEC versus Ripple, and it says, you know what, half of the ODL costs consists of fees paid to market makers. And I would guess the other half is inefficiencies of markets. Maybe you have a little bit different price going on Coinbase as you do Binance or whatever exchanges they are using. And these costs, well, they're quite significant. We know this because of those MoneyGram financials. Publicly traded company, they had to disclose this. And on-demand liquidity was losing $8 million, $12 million a quarter. It was huge. And that partnership ended in disaster. Now, we've been told they pivoted to SMEs, but those problems are still there, aren't they? Every time you send a payment, you jump from USD to XRP. That's one transaction you have to pay for. And then on the flip side, you have to go from XRP to peso. And that's a second whole transaction you have to pay for. In these markets, they have different quotes, different prices, and it's kind of a nightmare. This is also an important topic to talk about because of the recent SEC actions, where they're calling for financial statements that are current, outside of the realm of the lawsuit. And likely what they're doing is they're trying to go after Ripple's on-demand liquidity payments, because it was a huge win by Ripple over the SEC, but there was one really bad ruling. And the judge lumped in those ODL payments with the other institutional sales and labeled them all a securities violation. Now, in theory, as long as these transactions take place overseas, they should be fine. But of course, the SEC is going to try to pull those into U.S. jurisdiction in some manner. There's some risk there. Plus, we would like to operate in the U.S. Of course, you want to operate everywhere. Global payments, not global payments minus U.S., India, and China. How can you do this? And so these problems kind of, rattle around in my head. XRP is great. If you use XRP to send a payment, very fast and cheap. But the way Ripple does it, there's a lot of buying and selling and fees and market inefficiencies. How do we get around this? What do we know Ripple's pushing for in a big way right now? AMMs. They are trying to build up massive liquidity for on-chain transactions. Further, we have feature sets like clawbacks that allow for stable coins and assets like that to be issued on the ledger. What is Ripple likely thinking? What are they doing? I believe the immediate goal is to take those transactions off of exchanges and do them 100% on-chain on the XRP ledger's DEX. That gets rid of all of the costs from the market makers. Transactions are essentially free on the XRP ledger. The market inefficiencies go away because there's going to be one global on-chain price. It's going to be there for everyone to see. You know what it is. You can build deep and liquid markets, again, in a decentralized marketplace. Ripple institutions, individual users, everyone can kind of combine their transactions in a pretty significant global decentralized market. Further, the judge in the Ripple versus SEC court case said when transactions are done on exchanges or decentralized exchanges are even better, those are non-security transactions. So you are stripping away a ton of risk, a ton of costs. And when you compare this to where we were in the past, before XRapid launched, Ripple didn't send any payments with XRP. Yeah, they said they wanted to get there. Someday wanted to use it for its, novel features, but didn't use it at all. And then we have on-demand liquidity where it made up the lion's share of their business, but much of the money flow still happens on centralized exchanges, legacy type of systems, and now we transition into a fully decentralized and digital payment system, cheaper, more decentralized, and way more efficient. That's an exciting future, one that can compete with any system globally that this world has ever seen. When you look at what payments would look like in that type of system, now what Ripple's doing makes a heck of a lot more sense. They're not having to, pay people to use their system. They're not losing millions of dollars to send XRP payments. Now we have the system of the future that most of us envisioned, hoped we would get to. And it's a real possibility. Now remember this, we're not there yet. Again, they got to build this out. They got to make this liquid. It has to work. Most of us thought on-demand liquidity would work. And I'm not saying it doesn't at all, but there's a lot of hurdles you have to overcome. There's a lot of costs. So, maybe we get a year into this and see the hurdles are too big. I'm not saying it's going to happen 100%, but this sure seems like a path to success that's viable, that will work, and that excites me. And what's even more exciting, this type of deal wouldn't only be useful for Ripple and their institutional payments, but all of us. We could all use stable coins to move money around and trade into different assets, and it would be a really useful system for the world of crypto to solve real-world problems in a significant way. And in a very short amount of time, XRP could be one of the most used blockchains actually in practice, on-chain, for everyone to see. Stats don't lie, and that would make a major difference for its value. I did a news story here earlier in the week about, Ripple doesn't envision going public, imminently this year, probably not early next year. It's probably stuff like this. They're trying to redesign, reimagine some of their businesses. But what's good is they're not fleeing from blockchain. It looks like they are doubling down, going more decentralized, using more XRP ledger to make payments and do business than they were before. And that type of thing makes XRP exciting. It makes Ripple exciting as a company. And I think with this type of setup, they'd have a real shot at getting the job done. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this bizarre interview that Gary Gensler gave today on CNBC. I've never seen something like this. We had Bitcoin successfully launch yesterday. Over $4.5 billion in trading. Everyone's happy. Gary Gensler gets on CNBC and he's totally fudding this event, saying, we only did it because the courts forced us to do it. That, there's no reason for it. If someone wanted to buy Bitcoin before, they should have just bought it direct. They don't need to have ETFs. Absolutely nonsense. You can buy gold direct. Doesn't mean that it's not convenient. It's not necessary to have that investment vehicle for people to be easily able to invest in gold or all sorts of things. That's just the point of ETFs. Ones that center around commodities, where people want to invest in the underlying commodity, but I can't keep blocks of gold, in my living room or barrels of oil in my backyard. The guy is full of it. Plus, we see all sorts of awful companies going public, all sorts of, hideous financial instruments, whether it be mutual funds with ridiculous fees and garbage assets. Does he get on there and, warn the public, stay away from these types of things? That the S&P, smokes almost all of them, and these are just vehicles to strip you of fees for your cash? No, he didn't say anything. But here we have the first crypto ETF, this historic moment, and he gets on TV just trashing the whole thing and basically just blaming the courts, admitting we didn't want this and we wouldn't have done it. Our hands were forced, so it's on the courts now. And it just shows the guy is a total puppet for Elizabeth Warren. Whatever he says about crypto has to be entirely negative. Otherwise, even if he didn't want this, he would take credit for it. So you know what? We're happy now because we have significant players like BlackRock and Fidelity, people we can trust. The markets are better off than they were in the past. We have the infrastructure to allow this. I think crypto trading is dangerous and volatile, but the market demands it, and we got it done at the right time. Like, he would take credit for this big victory, but he can't, because as a puppet, he has to keep pushing Elizabeth Warren's nonsense that crypto's bad, it's dangerous, it's only used for illicit activity. The guy claims to be neutral and just following the law, but it's clear he's not neutral, not by a long shot. He is straight bought and paid for, sent to attack and try to stop crypto at every turn. I said originally that Grayscale should not have sued the SEC. Just wait for your time. This will get done. A lot of times I give the SEC too much credit. Thank goodness for Grayscale that they stood up, that they said this is nonsense. What you are doing is illegal and we're taking you to the court. Much like Ripple, they did a big service for this whole space, and we continue to go into the future because of people like Ripple, because of people like Grayscale, just pushing through this nonsense. What an embarrassing interview that was for Gary Gensler. He's not our father. He's not here to tell us what we can invest in and what we cannot. If I want to shove it all in gold, Bitcoin, some awful company, like, that's not his call. Last I checked, I'm not writing him checks to be my financial advisor. The government is paying his wages to enforce the law, not make up his own. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.